So on today's workshop, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over the simplicity of installing our screen upgrades compared to a full radio replacement. So since releasing our screen upgrades and having such a huge success with them and being able to bring a different dimension to the industry as far as source unit upgrades, we are going to be going over today the differences between our screen upgrades and a full radio replacement. And we're going to be walking you through the four main installation steps that you need to take when you're installing one of our screen upgrades compared to a full radio replacement. So step one is the actual removal of the factory equipment. And because this is just a screen upgrade and not a full radio replacement, the amount of equipment and things that need to get removed from the vehicle or taken apart is very minimal. So we are going to showcase right now exactly how little needs to come apart on the vehicle for our screens to go in there. So in order to do that, unfortunately, I don't have a vehicle here to show you, but I am going to show you basically what the factory equipment gets replaced with, so you could get an idea of exactly what the installation will entail. So this is the whole unit right here. There's no other modules or parts or components. So you can see this goes right in the dash. A lot of people ask if it goes over the factory screen or if it's going over the factory radio and it actually like protrudes out of the dash at all or anything. And the answer is no. The factory screen gets removed. The factory climate controls also get removed and get moved over here to these buttons. And then all of the factory trim pieces get swapped over. So you have your actual vents, you have a switch panel, you have your 12-volt socket, trailer and your trailer brake and all of that stuff here, and your 110 socket here, depending on how the vehicle is configured. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to remove the factory piece, which is this whole piece here. It basically comes off in one piece, and you're just going to replace it with ours. So removing the factory equipment is as simple as removing the factory screen and just taking out those components that are right there in the front of the dash. You don't have to go and remove anything that's buried in the dash. Don't actually have to get to the factory radio or HMI module, and you absolutely do not have to replace the factory amplifier if it's Bose. So as far as removing factory equipment to get our screen installed, it's very minimalistic right there in the dash. And this is, something that can be done fairly quickly by a seasoned installer, somebody that's familiar with those vehicles and knows their way around installing. So very, very minimalistic as far as what needs to come apart in the vehicle. So step two is the actual T-harness connections. And honestly, it couldn't get any more simplistic. You're literally going to plug in 3 different T-harnesses. This one may not be used depending on the factory LVDS cable. So you literally have 2 T-harnesses that you need to plug in to the screen. And then from there, you also have a couple factory plugs that plug in directly. And that's it. So you can't get any more of an easy installation as far as wiring and T-harnessing in. The LVDS cable goes there. You have this plug that goes here, which T-harness is in. And you have this plug that goes there, which T-harness is into the factory plug. And all of the other components just get transferred over. So you're literally T-harnessing in 2 plugs in this installation. And I don't know of any other solution that gives you all of the features and benefits that this does with a simple 2 T-harness connection. So we're going to talk a little bit about the system configuration for the setup of these screens. And because the factory radio stays intact and you use the factory radio through the new screen, there's a little bit of configuration that needs to be done in order to ensure that the factory radio both displays and works properly through the new screen. So once you get it installed, before you connect a phone to it, or before you do anything else, you need to configure it to the vehicle. And then each one of the screens comes with instructions, both a hard paper copy and the video that walks you through step by step exactly how to configure it for the factory configuration of the vehicle, whether it was 4-inch or 8-inch or 7-inch or whatever screen you're using and whatever factory screen size was already in the vehicle. We have accommodations for all the different trims and different screen sizes. So this way you don't have to worry about a ton of different SKUs depending on if it was a 7-inch or 8-inch, like on the 19 and up Silverado Sierra screen upgrade. So we have accommodation for both. Basically, once you put it in, you go into the settings, you put in a code, and then you select the correct vehicle type and screen size, save the settings, and that's most of the configuration that you have to do in a lot of cases. Sometimes it's a little more in depth. There's some more variables depending on the trim level of the vehicle, but we have step-by-step instructions with pictures and videos that walk you through exactly how to do it and what the actual settings are doing when you're making the changes, depending on the vehicle type. So we have all of that set up and accommodations ready for you to walk through it, whether with pictures from the manual or with videos. So the last step of the actual installation is the connections and final testing. So as far as the connections go, depending on what screen you're using and what vehicle it's being installed in, there's a few different ways that the connections are made specifically for the audio and for the phone. So you can either have it run through the factory Bluetooth in some cases, like on the Silverado and Sierra 19 and up solution, or you could have it run through the factory aux. So depending on exactly how you have it set up to work in that vehicle will determine what type of connections you are making as far as Bluetooth and, some maybe hardwired audio connections. Then from there, what you're going to do is once you establish that the connection from the screen to the factory vehicle system is functioning and you have sound, then you can introduce the phone into the equation and you can make the phone connection to the screen and make sure your phone calls and your music streaming, everything is functioning from the phone itself. Because you have two different sources. Essentially, you have your phone as a source if you're using like CarPlay or Android Auto, and then you have the screen itself as a source if you're using YouTube or Netflix or any of the built-in features and options that the screen offers separate from connecting your phone. The screen can work independent without the phone. You can use the built-in maps. You can use all of the features that the screen offers without even connecting a phone, like the video streaming apps that I had mentioned. So all of those connections are done at the end, whether you're connecting it to Wi-Fi or you're connecting it to a SIM card, putting a SIM card in there and using that for internet connection, which is what's recommended. But all of the connections are done at the end of the installation. And again, we have videos and step-by-step instructions on how to make all those connections, how to configure the screen for the vehicle and for whatever type of phone you're using and all of those connections that you are going to be utilizing. So definitely check it out at rdvfl.com. So that wraps up our 4-step installation process for our fabulous screen upgrades. They're amazing, 3-year warranty, been super solid and reliable, no intrusive integration into the vehicles. Find out more information. You can email us at sales@rdvfl.com. You can go on our website and check applications, rdvfl.com, and you can purchase product direct, or you can purchase through any one of our distribution partners through the EDA or Importel in Canada.